Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about Ubisoft's 2014 release of Watch Dogs, the first one, not the second one. If you want to hear me talk about the second one, that was last week's video. I'll put a card up to that now. You can go watch that, check out whatever you want about that. Leave your opinion in the comments because I know you're not going to like it. But today, we're going to talk about an opinion you're probably going to like even less, and that's the first Watch Dogs, alright? So if you don't know what this is, I'm going to break it down for you. We'll get into it. So let's start at the beginning.
Maurice.
Yeah?
You're on. One of our contractors ran a search for the hackers in the Merlot job. You're assigned Aiden Pierce. Take him out. Hit the family if you need to. This guy's hacking days are done.
Hit the family?
Got a problem?
Nope. I'll scare him good. You'll never hear from him again.
Alright, so if you guys haven't played Watch Dogs, or you haven't played through the story enough to know what happens, essentially, not going to spoil anything, just going to stick to the base details. You do a job, there's Aiden Pierce, that's the main character, and we'll talk about him more later, because everyone has a problem with him, but we'll get into that. And you do this job, and it all goes wrong. They call this guy to do a hit on you. You don't know who called it, you don't know why they called it. That's kind of the point of the game, to try to figure out why they called it. But in the process of the hit, it kills your niece. Alright, and that's kind of your motivation for the game. Your niece is dead, she was 6, you feel like it's your fault, you're pissed off, and you want to know why they did it, and you want to kill them. Alright, so that's the story, like, real short and easy. It's much more complicated than that, but we don't need to get into that type of detail for this. You guys can go play it, or you probably have played it. It's been 6 years at this point, so you probably don't even remember. But let's get down into what's really important, and that's the character. Also, this lady is a furry. Just want to put that out there. Alright, anyways, so the characters. First off, we're going to start with supporting characters, and we'll end with Aiden, because that's what's going to take a while. Alright, so Nikki is the mom of Lena, the niece who died, right? And so they're brother and sister, if that doesn't make sense to you already. And she ends up getting kidnapped. There aren't really spoilers here, this game's old. So she gets kidnapped, and that's kind of your whole... The plot revolves around, you know, getting her back, and her relationship with Aiden, and kind of them dealing with Lena's death. And they both kind of deal with it differently. Nikki's moved on, in a sense. This all takes place a year after Lena's death, and it's a year later. She's kind of moved on. She's doing her own thing. She's taking care of her other kid. And Aiden isn't so moved on, as you can probably tell from the plot of the game. So they kind of go back and forth with that, and she doesn't have that much to do. Same thing with another character that doesn't do much. We'll talk about Jackson, her son, and he's probably in 4 scenes, 5 maybe in the whole game. He's not in it much. He's PTSD. You know, he's kind of just there to act as someone for Nikki to interact with and care about, other than Aiden. He doesn't do much. He doesn't add anything, but he's there. But who we do want to talk about is my good old friend Jordy. Let's pull up my favorite clip of him, shall we?
Hi. Oh, fuck. Jordy, who are they?
Well, they live here.
What happened?
Well, security in these buildings is pretty tight. So people like this feel nice and secure living way up here. I mean, these people just had a simple chain lock on their door. I guess they want to have a good look at the pizza guy before they open it all the way.
All right, fine, sure. So about this problem.
Well, that's why I brought the bolt cutters. He opens the door this much, there's a chain right there. I slip him in and snip, and guess what? It's not the pizza guy.
Jordy, the problem. Let's deal with it.
We are dealing with it. We're in the midst of solutions here, Pierce. So Jordy is kind of your fixer, hitman, kind of mercenary type guy. And he has a lot of interactions with Aiden in the beginning of the game, but kind of as it goes on for plot reasons, he disappears and it's more phone call type stuff, but it's interesting. He's I guess you could say he's the comedy relief. I mean, like I said, he's not in it that much, but he's funny when he is in it, in kind of a dark humor type of way. But he's great. So our next section, I guess you'd call it, we're going to move on to the bad guys of the story, even though everybody's a bad guy if you really think about it. Before we get to Aiden, so
this is Maurice, the guy who actually carried out the hit in killing Lena. This is the first scene of the game. This is how it all starts. And, you know, he ain't doing too well. You don't like him too much. You want to kill him, but you need him. And like a lot of the other characters, he's not in it much. But Maurice, specifically towards the end of the game, is kind of Aiden's focus on, you know, the right from wrong. It kind of grounds him back in at the very end. And we'll get, again, more into that when we talk about Aiden. But, so he's a good character to talk about. But let's talk about the two real villains of this game. Alright, so Damien Brinks is going to be our first one. He is a hacker that worked with Aiden on the Merlot, which is their job that went wrong. And, you know, shit went south, and they both split. Dude got his legs broke, he's a cripple now. And then he kidnaps good old Nikki. And that's kind of the plot of the game, right? You guys going back and forth, and you working with him to give him what he wants, and while you're working to get Nikki back and dig deeper into Lena's death. And, you know, coincidentally, they both coincide, the things you're trying to find. But he's a solid villain, you know, he's kind of interesting because you were friends with him, but he also is bad in the sense that he will kill your sister. So he's not, I wouldn't say he's the greatest villain, he's not the main villain, I would say. The more interesting villain is this real sack of shit. Now let's look at this man.
Someone knew. I swear, I don't know what happened. There wasn't supposed to be anybody. I mean, it's a computer plant, right? I turn around, the alarm's going off. The cops got there so fast.
Shh. Quiet now. It's all over, son.
I got it, at least, right? That's what matters.
It is indeed what matters most. This is how the world turns. Not much room for fuck-ups.
Oh, I get that, Mr. Quinn. I do. It wasn't my fuck-up, though.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
Yeah, calm now. It's all right. Calm? Get a chance to talk to your mama? Call your friends? Your girl?
No, sir. I was in a hurry.
That's good. Very good.
Mr. Quinn! Oh!
So this raggedy old man is Lucky Quinn, and he's the leader of the Chicago South Club. And basically he runs everything, right? About halfway through the game, you'll have an auction, and it's not like a car auction. I mean, there are cars there, but they're selling people. So, you know, that kind of, he's not the greatest person alive. I mean, he's not great. And, you know, there's just so much in this game. I mean, I'm just showing you the main shell, right? I mean, there's a whole second act where it focuses on these gangbangers and the Viceroy gang with Iraq and Bedbug, and it's not a job for Tyrone, it's a job for Bedbug, and if you know what I'm talking about if you played the game. And it's just the whole middle section. There's so many villains we go back and forth with, so many other characters that are important, but, you know, I just wanted to get the main cast out of the way. And I won't show any more of this guy because there's not much to show without spoiling stuff, and I'm trying not to spoil too much. So we're going to talk about Aiden Pierce for a couple minutes, and then we'll switch over to gameplay, alright? And if you don't like Aiden Pierce, I'm gonna come at you. So the main reason a lot of people don't like this game is because of Aiden Pierce. And when you look at it from the surface, it's understandable, right? He's very grim and one tone, and just not a very good person, alright? But there's a lot of games that focus on not very good people. I mean, you know, Aiden kills a lot of people, and you could say it's for a good cause, but I think he quite enjoys it until, you know, he has a change of character at the end of the game. I think for a large majority of it, he enjoys killing these people. He really hits them quite hard trying to take them out. And, you know, there's a whole reputation thing where you can be a good vigilante or a bad vigilante, and the people will like you or hate you. But at the end of the day, I do think he enjoys taking out these people. And so my problem that most people have with Aiden Pierce is that they say that he has no emotion to him, alright? The man is depressed, alright? His niece died, and it is totally his fault, okay? Like, Nikki says it's not his fault, but it's his fault, okay? That's one. His best friend kidnaps his sister. That's two. And then somebody else dies. And that is, all three of these things are his fault. Alright, so this man is just not having a good day. Alright, his life's been rough. Everything's happening because of him. Everyone around him is getting hurt. And it's all his fault. Alright, so he's pissed off. And rightfully so. Alright? So don't be coming up in the comments and like, Aiden Pierce has no emotion. His performance is so dull. No, the man is depressed. And he just wants to save people and make things right. But things just keep getting worse. Alright? So, leave the man alone. Alright, but there's another part of him that I want to talk about that I think could have been interesting. So, this is going to be minor spoiler stuff. At the end of the game, he kind of has this conclusion that, you know, maybe I didn't need to kill all these people. I mean, it's kind of too late for that at that point. But he comes to that conclusion on the very last level. And I think it would have been really interesting to take Watch Dogs 2, following him in a way where he kind of changes his behavior, you know. Maybe he acts in less lethal ways. You know, he's doing the same type of stuff they're doing in Watch Dogs 2, taking down these big corrupt corporations, but in his Aiden Pierce style and not bright, flashy colors. And so, again, if you don't like Aiden Pierce, I understand why. But I think he is a great character, just because he's a very violent character and doesn't like anybody. Alright, but moving on from characters, I want to touch on another thing that I talked about in my Watch Dogs 2 video, which, if you haven't seen that, again, go watch that and this will make more sense to you. But I talked about how in Watch Dogs 2, the settings and the people in it wouldn't really use the arsenal that they're given. You know, it's all lethal weapons, and they really wouldn't use that. The arsenal here makes sense, right? Like I said earlier, Aiden Pierce is not a good person. None of these are non-lethal options. I mean, you can play the game like that through hacking and takedowns. You can non-lethally take people out. But, you know, there's grenade launchers in here, Barrett 50s, Desert Eagles, you know, all the types of things you would need to absolutely decimate people. Alright, and this arsenal makes sense, and it's about big enough for a game like this. It's perfect. Alright? Now, one thing I do think that Watch Dogs 2 does do better than Watch Dogs 1 is the phone kind of menu, options, tab, that's what you want to call it, like your start menu. It's just a little bit cleaner, and it looks more like a phone interface, but that's just, you know, nitpicking stuff. But something that Watch Dogs 2 definitely does better than Watch Dogs 1 is the clothes customization, and just the customization in general. So, in Watch Dogs, the first one, it's just different colors of the same outfit. It's just different trench coats with the mask, and just different shades. So that's really boring, and all of them look weird. None of them look cool. Watch Dogs 2 at least has the advantage in that. It has cooler clothes. But one last thing I want to talk on before the general gameplay is kind of this thing that they do in Far Cry, their drug missions, except in this game, they're optional, and they're significantly cooler. And I'll show you a little clip of what I mean.
System error 75%.
But besides that, gameplay is typically going to consist of you driving, shooting, or hacking your way through an outpost of enemies, or just groups of enemies through the street, depending on how you play, and absolutely slaughtering them with your hacking abilities. And that's something I think this game takes more of an advantage of, is your ability. Mainly in the fact that it has things that the environment interact with and hack to take out enemies, as well as just different things you can craft, and then of course your actual guns for weapons. As you see, as I kill people, I have there's a rating system that it's not too diverse. You know, if it's up, people won't call the police on you. If it's down, they will. So that's that here and there. But overall, I think the hacking's stronger in this game gameplay wise. The driving is significantly better. But overall, the shooting is the huge difference, right? You know, you could play 1 and 2 and say, okay, well, the driving isn't that different, right? And you could look at the hacking, and I can see why you'd like the Watch Dogs 2 hacking more. I understand, you know, if that's your style, then that, you know, good for you. But I like this one more. But the shooting is objectively better. The feel of the guns, as well as just how the character moves and just all of the combat opportunities it gives you, just feels so much better than Watch Dogs 2. So that's all I have to say about this game. I know you guys don't agree, so let me know what you think down below. Tell me you hate it, tell me you love it, whatever you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.